Trump's press secretary, MAGA Karolyn Leavitt, just annihilated these woke Democrats over the MS-13 leader's status in the U.S., okay? It gets pretty crazy here in this clip, and drop down below in the comments if you think there's any comparison between Karolyn Leavitt and KJP. Who do you think had the better press secretary? Let me know down below in the comments. It gets pretty crazy here in this clip where you see this woke reporter trying to pose as a Republican start to go back and forth and quarrel with Karolyn Leavitt over everything that's being handled by the Trump administration. All right, so we're going to break this thing down and debunk everything that's going on. Shout out to the King Squad. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, and let's get right into the video.
Great to have you here this afternoon. Can you shed some light on this? Because it was a story that we all covered, that he was the East Coast leader of MS-13. So what was the evidence that supported that proclamation by the Department of Justice and the FBI?
Here at the White House, we applaud the Attorney General Pam Bondi, our FBI Director Kash Patel, for working hand in hand with local law enforcement on the ground in the Commonwealth of Virginia to detain and arrest this MS-13 ringleader. There was sufficient evidence to do so, and now the case is in the hands of the Department of Homeland Security, who will be deporting this individual from our country. These agencies are working together in a collaborative way to follow President Trump's directive to eradicate MS-13 and foreign terrorists from United States soil. So this is an individual who was detained and arrested because of the president's policies, and he will no longer be residing in the United States of America. And our
I'm just trying to get some clarity on it, Karolyn, because, you know, if indeed he is what we were told he is, the East Coast leader of MS-13, wouldn't it make sense to prosecute him for crimes related to that? I know he was held on a gun charge, but to make sure that any victims of MS-13 through his leadership get their day in court here in the United States, and then send him to an El Salvador prison if he is deported and found guilty on those crimes.
Well, again, this administration is doing things differently, Martha, and this president has made a directive to his agencies, particularly the Department of Homeland Security, to remove foreign terrorists from America's homeland to protect American citizens. And we have an incredible diplomatic relationship with the president of El Salvador and his government, who have been detaining these MS-13 ringleaders and violent gang members in their prisons. And American taxpayers don't have to foot the bill for that cost. And so, again, the bottom line
the
here,
Supreme Court said that the Alien Act could be used to remove people, but they had to reach due process first. I'm only pressing on this because it was a huge story and we covered it. Obviously, it would feel like that person could lead to a lot of other evidence. The DOJ would be pressing to see this in court so that other people could be exposed, and suddenly none of that's happening. So can you explain why the change of course in this particular case?
I mean, I'm going to interject right there. You already see that it's very, she keeps interrupting Karolyn as Karolyn's answering the questions, and it's very disrespectful, okay? It's like, I mean, if you're going to ask a question, let the person answer, all right? Let the press secretary answer the questions that you have asked her. That's really what I'm getting here. And, you know, shout out to Karolyn Leavitt. She's extremely, you know, bold and straightforward and just letting it be known what's going on out here. So, you know, that's my personal thoughts as I'm hearing this. And I really don't like how she keeps interrupting her. It's like, you know, it's like she's trying to like just either, you know, intentionally be rude, or, you know, maybe she just doesn't care what she has to say, or maybe she's woke. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm still watching this and figuring this out for myself, guys. Let me know what you guys think. We're going to get on with the video.
Again, what I can tell you is that the president gave a directive to eradicate MS-13 ringleaders and gang members from our nation's communities. That is what's happening here.
What I do know is, just quick interjection, it definitely gets worse too. Like, it just keeps going. So we're going to just break this stuff down as it keeps going. So let's continue on with the video.
And to anyone who believes that these individuals should be living in America, the American people think differently. That's why they reelected this president by a historic margin. And
that's not what we're suggesting. We're just asking if he's, you know, should be held in a prison somewhere until he faces justice in the country. But
he should be removed from American soil, and that is the policy that this administration is following.
Okay. Lots, obviously, to talk about. A big cabinet meeting that we just watched play out this afternoon, and lots of news made there. With regard to China and what we anticipate will come next with what it has obviously turned into a full-blown trade war with China. Is it the White House policy at this point that we should pursue really decoupling, given all of the lines that have been stepped over by China and the ripping off that China has done of the United States, as the president talks about?
It's the policy of this White House and the Trump administration to put America first, to bring back jobs that have been fled overseas, to no longer allow China to dump cheap foreign products into the United States of America while they prevent American-made products from entering their market. China has been taking advantage of the American worker for decades. Both Democrats and Republicans have called on presidents to do something about this, to finally attack our crippling trade deficit with China, and to also make them pay for the more than $600 billion they have stolen from American companies and taxpayers in the form of intellectual property. So the president has great courage to finally take on China in this way. He has said he's open to talks. He's open to negotiating a deal. He believes China wants to talk to the United States of America. They just don't know how to go about it. We've had more than 75 other nations across the globe reaching out to this administration because they know this is the greatest country to do business. And those deals are underway. They are being negotiated by the president's trade team. But America cannot exist if we continue to enrich and embolden China. And President Trump is finally doing something about it.
You know, there's a number of companies that China has put on the blacklist. Some of them are defense companies that are providing equipment and weaponry to Taiwan. Does the White House feel at this point that it is safe for U.S. companies to pursue business agreements with China?
Well, the president has made it very clear that he wants companies to do business right here in the United States of America. And we have seen companies around the world, many of them who do business in China, are investing back in the United States of America because of this president and his America First policies, which is not just an America First trade agenda and tariff agenda. It's also tax cuts. The House just passed the reconciliation package today, or at least the framework for it. That continues to move forward. Yep. We also see massive deregulatory efforts underway. We see an energy incoming boom in this country. Oil prices are already down 20%. We had an inflation report out today. CPI index is down second month in a row. Consumer prices have dropped for the first time since COVID. There's great reason to be optimistic about America's economy. Trust in President Trump. Look at what he did in his first term. Companies would be best served doing business right here in the United States.
I'm just going to add right there, it is so refreshing to have a press secretary who's not, reading a script because she's sober. I mean, it is absolutely, it is just so refreshing, that she's knowledgeable. She knows what's going on. She answers the questions. She almost comes off like a female J.D. Vance. Okay. Let me know what you guys think about that. How do you feel about Karolyn Leavitt? Okay. Also, how do you feel about this reporter? I personally think that she's really coming off a bit antagonistic, okay, the way she's handling the interview. I don't know what her beef is with either Trump or Karolyn Leavitt, but this is why, we could have a Dem operative on our hands here, all right? But it gets pretty crazier. It gets worse. Let's carry on with the video. I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say in the comments.
One last topic I want to get to with you, Karolyn, while I have you, is this story that just crossed a little while ago in the Wall Street Journal about the White House wanting to have a consent decree over Columbia University in order to basically insist that if they're going to take any federal dollars, they have to follow the rules that the White House has laid down, especially with regard to anti-Semitism and other elements that the White House has clearly pushed back hard on these universities. I heard the president bring this up with the education secretary today. Explain to us what kind of control does this consent decree give the administration over Columbia and perhaps other universities as well?
I can tell you that the White House has been working hand in hand with Secretary McMahon and the Department of Education to bring these colleges and universities to the table to negotiate on behalf of Jewish American students who have felt threatened, who have been victims of violence and hate speech at our nation's higher education universities and campuses. And it's unacceptable to this president. And so as the Secretary of Education said in the cabinet meeting today, federal funding will be withheld until these universities comply with the administration's demands to keep Jewish American students on their college campuses safe and to eradicate anti-Semitism and hate speech from their campuses.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Obama administration had consent decrees against universities as well. when it came to their policies on how, sexual harassment issues would be dealt with on campus. So it is clearly not unprecedented for a White House to impose upon these universities that there are strings attached if they want federal dollars. So it's an interesting story. We'll keep an eye on it. Karolyn, thank you very much. Always good to have you. Thank you.
So there we have it. One of the things I just want to add to, everything that I saw here, they have this problem with us deporting these illegals, and they're trying to say stuff about, it's unjust how we're getting them out of here. But, the first things first is the fact that they came here illegally. Okay, so they already committed a crime. They came here illegally. This is what we have Hulk Homan out here talking about. Shout out to Tom Homan. And we can't have a trial for like 20 million illegals. All right, they gotta go. Okay, you come here illegally, that's illegal. I mean, what don't you get? So there's that. On top of that, I really think that maybe she's a new reporter or something. I mean, I wouldn't give her that. But this reporter here, I'm not exactly sure of what her name is, but, she definitely came off a bit, antagonistic and, to me, like hostile-ish, a bit hostile. The way she was just interrupting and not interjecting, but just straight interrupting, unapologetically as Karolyn Leavitt was finishing her answers, finishing her thoughts, so, and everything that's going on. So that's some things that I noticed here in this interview. But shout out to Karolyn Leavitt, MAGA Karolyn Leavitt out here handling this extremely professional and, just being, very a great, role model example and, like a leader, like just a straight great example of, a strong woman. So shout out to Karolyn Leavitt, beauty and brains, and we love to see it. So that's all for this video, you guys. Shout out to the King Squad. Smash the like button, hit subscribe. I really look forward to seeing how you guys felt about this interview down below in the comments, and I'll see you there. Peace.